Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you're ready to start your day with me, Maha Makhtoom, and the wonderful Shahzad Khan. Shahzad, Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. I am absolutely perfect. Thank you very much, Maha, for such kind
A very
words.
brief introduction,
Yeah,
comparatively to yours, which
yeah.
goes on for half the show.
But even though if it's brief, but I loved it. Thank you very much
Thanks.
for that.
I
Because
like yours too.
at times it's very cool to be very precise as well.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, today it's going to be a very hilarious show. That's
Is
what
it?
that's what I've thought of it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
he's going to be hilarious and I'm going to try and keep it on track.
Yeah, I think that's how it's going to be. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, today whatever we have picked up on really has to do with a lot of people who are out there, and a lot of parents and parenting and
Yeah, and really, brilliant stuff. But before we talk about that,
yeah.
should we start with a public service announcement, or should we start?
I
with
think
the
we
news?
should start with the headlines first,
Headlines?
and then
Great.
when we are done with the headlines, we've got a very important public service message for
Yes.
all those people who live in Rawalpindi and Islamabad and the surrounding areas.
Yeah, exactly. And this is actually really useful for your day-to-day lives for the coming days.
Yeah.
So the first one is the ECO Council of Ministers is meeting today in Islamabad as senior officials of ECO member states are finalizing recommendations for consideration in the meeting.
Yeah,
So that is going to take place today and tomorrow in Islamabad.
great.
Number two, should
Yeah.
I do the second one too? Okay,
Yeah.
great. President Mamnoon Hussain has called for the development and enforcement of fire safety codes to avert the risk of huge disasters. And this is very important. So that's very good.
It is indeed.
Good on the
And moving on
president.
towards the next one, which is Operation Razul Fasad, continues across the country as over 250 suspects arrested by police forces during joint search operation. Wow, what an achievement, I think, in a very short time as well. So congratulations to the security forces as well for, probably getting their hands on all of those suspects as well. But now moving on, I think we've got another one over here as well.
Yes.
And for all those Pakistanis who are out there, congratulations, because the final of Pakistan Super League 2017 will be played in Lahore on 5th of March. Chief Minister Punjab Shehbaz Sharif finalized the approval. PSL Chairman Najam Sethi says sale of tickets will start from today. So get your hands on the tickets, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to witness the PSL 2017 final. And for today, as a matter of fact, there's going to be a match of PSL as well. And talking about that, I think it's in between Quetta Gladiators and Peshawar's Army. Am I correct?
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm correct.
Yeah.
I think I asked that from my cameraman as well, because I haven't been following PSL that much because we were too busy with all of our work.
Exactly. So that's wonderful. And, it's so great that people are still as excited and they're still turning up
I'm
to
very
matches.
excited.
No, it's good. It's about focusing on all the positives that are happening.
Yeah.
Now, Shahzad, in the
Yeah.
beginning of the show, we said we're going to give some very important information to all our viewers
Yeah.
about your movement. Because of the ECO conference that's taking place, there's a lot of rerouting and lots of blocks.
So let me tell you precisely, in which areas you might probably face a bit of traffic problem, or probably you might not even be allowed
Yes, we have them
to
here.
commute from those roads. Okay, so on the instructions of the Interior Minister, for the convenience of residents of Rawalpindi and Islamabad, it will be a local holiday in the Twin Cities on March 1st, while on February 28th, after 1 p.m., educational institutions and offices will be closed. A traffic plan for the Twin Cities during the summit was also approved. From February 28th till the night of March 1st, Kashmir Highway will remain closed from 0 Point to Serena Square. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Kashmir Highway will remain closed from 0 Point to Serena Square for ordinary traffic. And it's all because of the security of all of those delegates which are coming in for the ECO summit
Exactly.
taking place in Pakistan.
And we will share this information, and there's even more information on which routes you can use. We'll put that on our Facebook page, which we will share with you at the end of the show.
And
Now-
Maha's going to do it.
Yes, yes, I will.
So you're taking that responsibility.
I will. I've got my pen and my pad, and I've
Yeah.
got my newspaper. I'm going to make
Yeah.
a note on it. But
Yeah.
Shahzad, I've
Yeah.
noticed this. Why have you start? What are you doing?
Well, I'm biting my nails.
Why are you
Well,
biting
is
your
it bad?
nails? That's a really bad habit.
Why?
Because it's dirty.
But
number
why?
one, and also, when did you develop this habit?
Just now. So, okay, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have picked up on. Because, Mom, when I was a kid, so I used to develop all of these bad habits every now and then. And for example, the most hilarious one was that, I used to blink my eyes just because I felt as if there's A going on. in my eyes.
So
as well.
no, please.
So, you know,
Before the show, he gave us a demonstration. So please, let's
okay.
show what he used to do.
So my cameraman can zoom in a bit so that
Yeah.
people can realize what I used to do. For example, even if I'm in school, you know, even if I'm at home, even if I'm with cousins or my father's friends or who else, whatever it may probably be, after every 5 seconds, I will go with my eyes just like this.
And how did you get rid of this bad habit?
Okay, so all of a sudden when my father realized that, you know, it's getting worse and worse, what he did was he probably picked up his chappal, you know, he gave me a good beating. And then after that, I was very cautious about it. So I used to keep my eyes like this and then at times like this as well so that I don't blink them. And then, you know, I've even actually, you know, measured it on my watch at times when I was a child that I won't blink my eyes for at least a minute and you know the tears would come in as well.
Okay,
so
wow.
then finally, you know, there was a day when I actually got rid of that habit and it was only because of my parents because they said it to me. And then
They helped you break it.
yeah, speaking about all of the other habits, what was the habit you had?
Well, actually, I picked up my bad habit, and I'm really sorry for naming and shaming, but for my sister, I started biting my nails.
Oh my
And so the thing is, that became into a habit, and there was no reason for doing it. Then, you know, it becomes like kind of an obsessive, like
Right hand or left
compulsive.
hand?
I don't, I don't know.
Why
I was
you
a
answer?
child. And anyway, I think when you're stressed, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's not get into details of this. This is
Okay,
gross.
okay, other
But
than
anyway,
that, I've
so
got more
I'm
bad habits.
still,
Yeah.
to this day, still battling with it because when I get stressed or anxious, I first start breaking them, then I'll start biting them.
So all you
but
need
now
to do
I'm
is,
trying to stop.
I think all you need to do is probably be in conversation with your parents and tell them to chuplify you and you'll be fine.
No,
I
no,
think.
our parents used to like, and my mother even put that nail polish on that makes your nails
Or probably
taste really
masala
bad.
over here.
No, because we like.
Oh, I
So,
just got.
there's lots of stuff.
You know, I just remember one more bad habit as well.
Okay.
But ladies and gentlemen, right now over here, I'm going to you know, convey to you one of the very worst habits which one of my cousins used to have, and that was that, you know, they used to pick up on their nose as well.
Okay.
But ladies and gentlemen, we'll elaborate on that. Right now we've got breaking news coming in, so we have to go for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we were telling you what the show was about. We are discussing habits, good, bad, when did they start, and the consequences to discuss this topic.
And how to differentiate in between good habits and bad habits as well. I mean, for example, there are people, you know, within families who really want to be on time. And, you know, just because of that fact that they want to be on time, what they do is that they're probably before time as well. And then the kids get paranoid as well. And then there are other people who get disturbed. The groom and bride haven't actually arrived, but, you know, those people are there because they want to be on time, and then they want the food to be on time to be served. So let's just discuss that thin line in between good habits and bad habits as
I
well.
think that's a good habit, being on time, though. So to discuss this, we've been joined by Dr. Uzma Masroor. She is a consultant clinical psychologist. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Besides Dr. Uzma Masroor, we've been joined by Ms. Taira Javed. She is also a consultant clinical psychologist. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Besides Ms. Taira Javed, we've been joined by Dr. Nazo Jogazai. She is a consultant psychiatrist. Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Hello,
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, ladies, for coming over. It is lovely to have
And
you.
it's a great topic.
Yeah,
I'm
but
really
let's
excited.
differentiate in between good habits and bad
All right,
habits,
first,
or just habits.
What is a habit? So we'll start with you, Dr.
Okay,
Uzma.
before I start formally, I just have a suggestion for Shazad. I think we should someday conduct a session for chappal therapy also, because
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. You know.
You just don't know how many times I've gone through a chappal therapy, a jharu therapy, a wiper therapy, and a
Verbal
thappar
therapy.
therapy. And then later on, you know,
Exactly.
when my mother actually used to feel as if, you know, she's tired now, so, you know, she would actually stop slapping me and she'd start kicking. So kicking
Oh
therapy.
my gosh! Oh my goodness!
Ammi, if you can see, you know, it's
He's
just because of
joking,
your
guys.
kicks.
But he's very successful, so it worked out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
To some extent,
yes.
you know, besides it is a joke, but sometimes it is very important to use certain tools.
We will talk about
because
the
to
stations,
modify
but
discipline.
yeah, we will talk about that. But what are habits? So tell us about
Yeah,
them.
habits are basically a repetitive pattern of behavior that we acquire with the passage of time, with the developmental age levels. Usually, anything that we perform just you know, as a regular routine, but then it becomes repetitive, and sometimes in some way, at some you know, point of time, it is useful for us. So it becomes our habit when we do not check it and when we keep on doing that. So as a normal process of life, we need to learn certain skills at certain age. So we have to develop certain habits, and then we have to continue with some better ones. We have to replace them. But sometimes what happens, for certain reasons, we adopt a pattern of behavior that is useful at that time, but for some reason it is maintained by some motivational operation, or maybe there is some reinforcement, some reward attached to it. So due to certain reasons, we continue with that, and sometimes we realize that this is not. So as you already asked, there is very fine line between bad habits and good habits. Habit is not bad and good itself. It is only the context in which it is being, you know, used.
Okay.
For certain time, you need to be in a habit of hard work for certain, you know, task to achieve. But later on, you have to replace it with some more adaptive one, I think, more better one. So anything that becomes so very repetitive that it interferes with your normal functioning, you know, it hinders your performance, and it becomes part of your life as if you won't be able to get rid of it. And then it becomes painful, difficult for you to continue, and for your surroundings, it is not that helpful.
Okay, so it might be a very stupid question to ask, but I think I'll probably take advantage of the opportunity, and that is that, you know, you just said that whatever you do and you do it repetitively, that's what you call a habit. So I've been breathing for 30 years now. I've been seeing things
But
for 30
it
years.
is
I've
very
been listening
useful
to things for 30 years.
I-
Do you
I-
think these are habits too?
You know what I was talking about, the usefulness of the behavior, you know,
So it's
in
very
maintaining
useful.
your
I
life.
can see you right now.
I know,
That's
but
a good-
it
Oh,
is maintaining.
imagine that it becomes a habit seeing you.
No, it's a behavior, Shazad.
I'm sorry for this one.
Habits are behaviors.
Habits are basically pattern of behavior.
Yes.
And to be more precise, it could be something related to our thinking. Repetitively thinking about something that is not that helpful. I won't use the word negative because this is not appropriate to use it, because nothing is negative as such.
But I would really, you know, over here, I'm sorry for this one, but I would, over here, you know, Usman, what you should have done was that, you know, when I said that, you should have actually cut the camera, because, you know, imagine having a habit of watching beautiful women.
Shazad, no, that's not.
Is that a good habit?
No, that's called harassment.
Oh, no, that's not harassment.
So anyway, so coming back to
Context.
yes,
Remember the
Context.
context. So, doctors, I want to ask you.
Okay.
No, sorry, Dr. Nazul. From the psychiatric point of view, do we have the same definitions? How do we look at habits from the psychiatric point of view?
Actually, if you think about
Psychiatric.
psychiatry, it's more about the severity of the spectrum of habits. So habits could be good, bad, adaptive, maladaptive. But when they come to us, usually it's like the most maladaptive condition that a person has landed up into, or the family has landed up into with children and parents. Usually it's never just one person into it.
Alright.
Okay.
What I feel. So if you're talking about children, it usually also means that somewhere the parents are part and parcel of the whole thing.
Okay.
So in psychiatry, we kind of, I think it's the more severe side, where you need more severe and multiple different treatment options to augment the treatment, which initially could have been prevented if you had just had a positive way of living life, had positive attitudes, positive activities, positive experiences. The family had, even if they didn't have very good behavior patterns or habits, they could have asked help, and they had developed some form of resilience by having all these activities.
Okay,
So I think that then we could have prevented people not coming to me, or people in my my
In
role
field.
in my
Yeah,
field.
but
Yes.
no.
But
But before we move on to your point, I think that it is very essential over here.
I'm
that
starting
it's
by my
not-
hair stress,
Yeah,
I'm
that it's,
stressing
that
now.
it's not just about the family as well, starting from kids and adolescents. Now, what happens is, as a matter of fact, that we all go to school. Everybody's from a
Yes,
different background.
it's also
and
about
children,
schools.
they do get influenced by other
Peer
people's
groups.
behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but
now
that-
let's move on to
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Before we move on to that, but I think Dr. Osman wanted to say
Yes,
something.
I wanted to talk about like when it becomes a pattern of behavior that goes beyond your awareness. You know, repetitive does not mean one behavior has to be repeated over and over. It is just without any intention, it becomes automatic action on your part. So then it is called a habit. So this is
Okay.
what I wanted to add. And when there are some you know, habits which are malfunctioned and which are not, again I would say, that helpful, and we go on with that, then later on we might land into more psychiatric, more severe
Severe, that's
psychiatric.
what okay,
Severe,
Dr.
yeah.
Nazar was saying. Okay, now, yeah, so Shazad's point is that
Yeah.
they are not just at the house, but there are different factors. So how, you know, what influences habits, and, you know, what are the kind of triggers, and
Then
where
your
do you come
cousins,
from?
your relatives.
Yeah, first of all, your own personality, your own type of, you know, personality that decides which behavior has to be taken. I already mentioned that there are certain behaviors which we need to adopt with the passage of time and developmental course of years. And our personality determines, you know, in a same situation, there are sometimes people who do not adopt certain habits. This is because there is an intention, there is an inclination, and there is a predisposition for adopting certain thing. So first thing is your personality, and then there is a press from your environment, that is environmental conditions that might induce certain state in yourself that you get acquired that habit.
Okay.
So it is circumstances also, they matter. And another important thing is conditioning, basically.
Okay.
Okay, when we are presented with certain situation in our life and we respond automatically, or maybe it is learned, or maybe it is automatic, whatever, and unconsciously we learn it, and it becomes, you know, repetitive. Like in certain situation, acting in a certain way may determine that we have to act certain way. Again, the
No, but over
reinforcement
here, you know,
attached-
what I want to know is, Dr. Nazar, I think I'll pose this one to you. Now, what I want to know is that, you know, since, you know, this is what I was sharing as well, that I used to blink my eyes and then, you know, eat my nails and whatnot. I think there might be a part of brain which gets stimulated, and you probably get
Yeah.
something.
Pleasure
Well,
seeking?
yeah, you get some pleasure to it as well. That, oh, yeah, you know, whatever
that
it
gets
is, but, you know,
balanced.
it's good. So what happens over here in the
There
brain?
is an addictive potential with many things, but let's be honest. Biting your nails is not cannabis and is not heroin, right? So it's not going to raise the level of dopamine in the reward system and all
But there's
that.
a weird kind
But
of-
it's a repetitive behavior.
I don't know
pattern
whether I should say that or not, but I'm not that
One time,
against.
guys.
But it will reduce stress.
Yeah.
Something fidgety, something somewhere is releasing some kind of stress which is reinforcing it.
Okay.
So somewhere, if you were biting nails or if you were just blinking too much, maybe you had an innate anxiety that you were fighting at that particular time, and which was released, and that's how it was reinforced and continued the pattern of
And I would add,
habit.
it is
Just
self-stimulating.
like, you know, sometimes you have a pen that you're writing, or you're doing something, or you're moving your hand. I'm sorry, but we do have some habits which release our own anxiety, and these are actually kind of adaptive if they're
Okay,
for
but
this
if
purpose.
these things are
But
adaptive, now that's where I'm going.
if your nails are getting too, you know, injured with that, then I think it's going a little bit too far, and maybe you need help.
Okay, I need that's
You
the
need
thing.
help in
The
that,
difference.
yeah.
That's what's the difference between me and my sister. So she used to bite them really short.
Yeah,
but I
then you
didn't.
need help.
So you're actually recommending that, you know, if you're not damaging your nails, you can probably bite
No,
them.
you
I don't
shouldn't.
think that it's a good idea. But now over here, there's one more thing. Sorry, very sorry,
No,
Mom.
no, that's
That is that, you know, when babies are born, okay, I don't know how adaptive they are or not, but I think
Ms. Tahira.
Ms. Tyra, that this is going to be for you. And that is that, once they're like 5 months old or 6 months old, I have not seen a single baby who does not have a habit of sucking their thumb or probably onto the fingers. My younger brother used to actually suck on a sock as well. Yeah. So we used to, and they couldn't even sleep without that. How can that be adaptive then?
See, this is because of their oral developmental stage. Actually, that is an instinct which leads them to suck their thumb, or it leads to they just pick their toys and put them in their mouths, and that is different from what we are talking about a habit.
Okay.
Habit is something which is adaptive or maladaptive, and it is repetitive over a period of time.
And it's
For
not normal
example-
to us.
Yes, and for example, this thumb sucking is comes when a child is 4 or 5 years old, and she is still sucking his thumb.
Yeah.
So that means now it has become a habit, and it needs to be fixed, and it needs to be changed.
Or
Okay,
probably
see,
won't
that
give
was-
up on the
See,
pacifier.
that's the thing. I picked up the habit of biting from my sister, but I actually originally I used to suck my thumb. I actually stopped sucking my thumb at the age of 7 because my parents were like, you're really old now, you really need to stop. So,
Somewhere you had, linked some kind of reassurance.
yeah, I was
And
very
that's why
shy
your-
and nervous.
Your this thumb is even smaller than
So it
from the
became
other one.
maladaptive at that point.
Yeah,
It was
Observation.
maladaptive.
See?
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm getting
But you
distracted.
should thank God that you've got your teeth in the right shape as well.
Yeah.
No,
Because people who suck thumbs, their teeth are
Yeah.
horrible.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And I would like to add something in
please.
it. Like whenever we are talking about habits, there is a cue from the environment that he was talking about. Whenever we talk about habits, there are certain factors. No? There's an environment which implies our family, our society, our peers, our school. So there's a cue from the society or environment. Then we act according to that, and then it provides that action gives us some reward.
Okay.
So whenever if we take example of thumb sucking, that means the child is doing that for the self-stimulation. It is giving him the reward. So whenever we are talking about the habit, it is in three forms, like cue, action, and reward.
Okay, and that's the thing. I used to get a lot of comfort when I used to, and I remember I tried it again. I was like, I wonder what it's like. But I felt that feeling. I was like, oh, okay. But now moving forward, so you talked about the cues, about the rewards, and now when you're children, it's much more difficult to pick it up, and these habits are difficult to pick up on yourself. And this is why maybe, psychiatrists have to get involved. But as you mentioned, there are certain habits which become negative. Now, that could be, what could make a habit go towards the negative form? Let's talk about that for all the parents out there and the teachers.
You mean which are the negative habits?
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, biting your nails is maybe underlying anxiety or stress.
Exactly. Again, coming back to our internal conditions, there are some emotional states which we are, going through. As a child, having certain type of personality, when encountering certain situation, there are some internal, system that responds to it, usually emotional system.
Okay.
So self-stimulation is basically giving pleasure to ourselves. So it does not mean that we are pleasing anyone, but in fact we are pleasing ourselves.
For example,
And-
when we eat a lot.
Exactly, and as long as our environment is not exerting any pressure on us, or we are not picking up anything from our environment that is negative, or that is, stopping us from doing that, we keep on doing that. So it's that internal motivation keeps on,
Okay, so
continuing
then
with
here's
that
the
behavior.
deal. Okay, so since we're talking about internal motivation as
But
well,
my
I
answer,
think...
my question hasn't been answered.
Yeah, that's what I'm going towards. Now, Dr. Nazo, as a matter of fact, what I'm trying to convey over here is that since the time we are growing up and our kids are coming and then there are future generations, why is it difficult for kids to pick up on good habits? Why always the bad habits? I mean, parents keep on telling them, oh son, you probably need to wash your hands. They're not going to go wash their hands. They're going to keep on telling them you have to obey us. They will never ever obey you.
Exactly.
So then what goes on over here that we are not ready to accept all the good habits, but bad habits we are keeping.
I feel this is
we're
a therapy
picking up
session.
by ourselves.
That
It's
thing is
very
more, I think, pleasing from inside. we seek pleasure out of it mostly.
Okay.
Also, like Dr. Uzma has said it maybe once or twice now, that it's you're born with some things. You are. I mean, I'm so
on.
sorry.
You know,
for
like,
that.
Really? I was
but
born with
there's
that.
a genetic makeup that you're born with that actually determines a lot of things. I'm not saying you're actually going to do a thumb suck because of the genetic, but there maybe you're prone to more. You're more sensitive, or you want thrill, or you're impulsive, or now these are genetic traits that you might be born with.
Probably
You're not might.
your dad
Everybody
didn't
has
disobey your
a little bit.
grandfather, so that's why
And
you're
then
not.
your environment, what your environment gives to you, on top of that genetic, it kind of determines how you're going to behave, what your attitude is going to be like. Are you going to, the role models, the environment is everything. School, parents, siblings, families, everything.
Okay.
And that actually is all contributing to how you're going to behave. And behavior, by the way, is something that you see. But that actually kind of is the manifestation of what your attitude and your thinking is. Just like Dr. Uzma actually said that again. It's your attitude which your behavior is actually picking on.
Okay.
So what you're doing is really how your attitude. So if you're actually doing something negative, with something like maybe avoiding. Okay, your dad's saying something, you're just avoiding because somehow you've learned that this
Just
works
pretending
with
that you're not
this
listening.
person.
This works with this
This
person.
works. Something that is working, you're going to repeat.
Okay.
So if, for instance, school refusal, sometimes kids say, oh, I have a tummy ache, and once it's done, and then it becomes a habit. No, it's a tummy ache every day. So you know, and so some, the children have actually picked it up that it's actually somewhere.
Okay, but very sorry, just because you said it, I really have got a stomach ache over here, ladies and gentlemen. I need to go for a short break. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we're talking about habits, and Shazad's terrible habit is they like to distract me when I'm trying to do the welcome back. But anyway, so we've talked about now, for all the viewers that have joined us, how do habits form? What are the differences between when does a habit become a good habit or a negative habit? Sorry, bad habit. Now, going forward, Dr. Nazar was saying how you know, one needs to learn about themselves, etc. But when it's a child, let me ask Miss Thyra, when it's a child, how important is it for the parent to be aware of themselves? Because people do lack reflection, self-reflection, so that they can pick up the habits in their children.
Actually, when we talk about children and parenting, I would quote the example that Shahzad gave. It was if a father disobeys a grandfather, the child is more likely to adopt that habit because parents and grandparents are the role models.
Okay.
So whatever we model, whatever habit we model at home, it is more likely for a child to adopt it. So it's a very important thing for the parents to just model the good behaviors, the good habits, because if the child see that a father is lying or a mother is lying, he would adopt the same thing because he is not at a stage where he could decide what's good and what's bad.
Okay.
Whatsoever he sees, he would adopt to it.
And before we even move on towards solutions, there's one more aspect which I want you to discuss, and that is that obviously over here in Pakistani household and in Pakistani culture, we do have this chappal slipper therapy where parents do beat their kids, and it is a very normal thing, and we do not have a landline which says 911. So, you know, no matter what happens, we cannot complain it to anybody else. The most you can do is run to your grandfather or to your grandmother, oh, please save me.
There's a fine line between abuse and discipline.
Yeah. Now, that's what I want to ask. How do you think that all of this type of parenting would affect a kid if he or she is involved in a bad habit and you're trying to stop them?
As long as both parents are at the same side. What happens is usually in our society, in our culture, if a father is scolding or doing chappal therapy, the mother is like, why did you do that? And the mother is spoiling the child and she's just pampering and all. So all the effect of that chappal therapy is gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now when the parents, both parents are at same side and she supports that yes, you did something wrong and he did this for a reason, and whenever you would not do the same thing again, he would just give you some reinforcement, just tell the child.
Reinforcement, like the word though.
Yes,
Yeah.
reinforcement is basically a gift or a reward or some good thing that the child likes. For example, a child likes to watch TV. If a child wants to go out to have some ice cream, they're
Always
like
used to
little
get money.
things.
So these are the ways to develop better habits. So, for example, if a child is lying, now these things, okay, we've talked. We just want to. I want to bring in good habits just briefly because, I mean, there wasn't much to say about good habits. You pick up good habits.
For
You
example,
can see the
smile.
benefit. You smile, it releases, good dopamine or what? Serotonin.
Endorphins.
Yeah,
I don't know.
endorphins,
Anyway,
serotonin, yes.
yeah, we have a doctor in the room, so I'm just like, okay, so Dr. Nazo and Dr. Azma, I'll pose this to all of you actually. Okay, bad habits we know, but good habits, how do we form those? And how do we make sure that that is something that we can follow on?
I think
Because,
that's Dr. Uzma's forte.
yeah, so tell us about this. How do we form good habits?
Again, good habits, again starting from home environment, the way a child has been, raised up, the practices around him, the behaviors he himself watches or being modeled to.
Right.
So,
But the general practice, sorry to interrupt you just
Okay.
before you build up, but the general practice, which I've noticed generally, is that parents say something, but they're doing something different. And that is everywhere.
Exactly.
Now, how can we make parents realize it's do as I do and, not just as I say?
I would rather say I've seen many parents who are not educated at all, but still they know how to behave. They are on the same page.
Okay.
They know this behavior would have this repercussions on the on the part of the child and different things together. So I think education of parent is more important. Like we are educating them upon population and hygiene and health conditions and everything. We can educate them on this too. What kind of home environment should raise what kind of children? So first thing is important, and we can come up with certain examples from their own locality, so that they should know this could land up into this situation, because once we provide them certain situations or examples outside their understanding, beyond their awareness, so it also becomes difficult for them to understand. So first thing is education of the parents, and secondly, provision of proper psychological care to a child. Many practices have been repeatedly announced as bad, as negative on the part of the child, like scolding child in front of
What do you think about
others.
this discipline of aspect as well?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Discipline offers both things at the same time, like stopping a child from doing certain thing and then rewarding him for complying to you. So we are offering both things at the same time. Discipline does not mean asking child to do certain thing and then you say, okay, it was your duty to do that.
Yeah.
So one has to be very careful. Kind of word bribe would not be suitable, but at some stage you have to bribe the
Incentives.
child.
These are
It is
incentives.
incentive. It is
Incentive-based.
again. This is reinforcement, because approval of parent, smile of parent, a hug from the parents. It is also kind of reinforcement for the
Exactly,
child.
and that's what it is, and that's how it has worked for me too. I mean, that's how I'm going to explain it, because every time I needed something, for example, a bicycle, a remote control car, or whatever as a kid, so the only thing this used to say to me was that, okay, first 3 positions in the class, ask for whatever you want. I never got one. Well, that's
Then
another
my dad
story.
gave us the same incentive. He was like, if you get a first in your degree, I'll get you can choose a car. You get a second, I'll give you choice. But the thing is, we didn't do it.
Practices on the other side, offering something without any, response from the child.
Guidance.
Okay.
Once the child is crying, that means he is building up this habit of crying to take something from parents.
Yeah.
So habits are being built, this way as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I would add that reinforcement, nothing replaces your attention and love. So family cannot,
Exactly.
I think,
Very
never,
important.
ever. They should work on themselves. Every parent has to work. Every teacher has to be. Once you're a role model, you have to be as perfect or as what you want the children that
Exactly.
you're teaching or you're raising, how you want them to be.
Yeah.
So please, you can't have shortcuts.
Yeah, because if you're a
Yeah.
lazy parent and then
Yeah.
the children turn out to be lazy,
Yeah.
then you can't really
But I
blame the
think-
children.
work on
I
that.
think the nutshell is actions speak louder than words. That's what it is.
Exactly.
That is
But-
so true.
But
And
very
love,
quickly,
and not
one thing I'll
replacing
go to
love and
that.
attention by just material stuff.
Absolutely.
Very
Dr.
important.
Your thinking, it converts into action.
Yeah.
Actions become your habits, and then habits become your destiny.
And your lifestyle
This
as
is how
well.
you change.
So always, ladies and gentlemen, you have to pick up on good habits, which will definitely lead towards a healthier lifestyle as well, and a healthier and a happier life.
That's the only way, by reflecting and being objective, not so, arrogant about oneself. But
Yeah.
Ms. Tara, we need to bring you back into conversation.
Quick solutions.
So now, once you're at that stage, maybe you're a parent and you're trying the best for your child, or you have your own personality. How do we ensure that our habits stay positive, and it's helping us in our lives?
Okay, I would divide this in your question in two parts,
Okay,
where
correct.
I would be talking about parents and children, and then adolescents.
Perfect.
Because most of the time, adolescents do realize how could they work on themselves, right? So talking about parents and children, the parents have to identify which is the reward that the child is getting by doing something bad.
Okay.
For example, a child is lying. So that means probably a child has done some mistake and he's lying to escape from the punishment that
Maybe
he
they're
would get.
scared.
Right? So
Yeah.
they're scared. So because of that scare, they are lying. So when the parents identify that the child has some reward, which is the escape from the punishment or the scare of the parents that they would scold. So the most important thing is to motivate the child to be honest and give them the reassurance that they would just accept the honesty,
Okay.
and they would not say
Beautiful.
anything, and they would not beat him or they would not scold him, so that the child is getting the reward that in a positive way.
Let me tell you, only fathers can do that. Because every time I've told my mother, okay, that this is what happened, even though she reassured, oh, dude,
No,
that's
no, no.
slap. I haven't
will
forgotten.
tell you two things. Parents are okay in the beginning, but a week later or a month later, when they're angry, they're going to throw it in your face.
Exactly. So that's something I'm saying that parents have to realize.
Yeah.
They are responsible for making good habits or bad habits of the children. So when it comes to parenting, it's really a big responsibility.
And we actually have run out of time, and there's so much more we need to discuss. But I just want to ask once again, this whole discipline, like I said, there's a fine line between discipline and abuse. And like Shazad said, over here, there is no kind of framework.
Yeah.
I know people who get just not nice, and it's not helpful. Now, can someone tell me, realistically, when it goes beyond the point of positive,
When you just keep on
results,
doing it and
yeah,
doing it
I
and
mean,
doing it.
what is the damage that's
I
being
think
caused?
every behavior has certain function it is performing. Again, in the form of some reinforcement, some reward.
But a
he is
grown-up
getting.
adult beating up a child, I mean, you'd punching or
Well, I
kicking.
think you're
this is
raising
the
a
bit.
child who's never going to be honest to you. He will be suffering a lot of things. You will never understand what they're suffering. They'll be suffering in silence. And then actually anything can happen after that. So a lot of anxieties, a lot of depressions, a lot of anything.
Yeah,
which
but
could-
one last thing very quickly before we run out of time.
You're running out of time.
And that is now within our society, what happens is that when parents get older, obviously it gets difficult for kids to handle them, just because of the fact that even those elderly parents do develop some habits which are a bit not
Difficult.
really
Difficult to-
friendly
yeah.
for the
That's true.
family.
Yeah.
So how do you think that those kids should actually treat their parents in a very healthier
How
and
do you
wiser
deal
way?
with that?
They should have understanding. There are certain habits which are important for their own functioning as well.
Okay.
Like asking for help, seeking attention of them. Like they need medication or some other,
Yeah.
care.
No, that's great. That's
Exactly. But we should understand which habit is basically not good for them. That is good for better, and that is not.
cool. I
better
thought
for
what
them.
you should have said is that they're not growing. I mean, they've aged now, so most of the
They have
time.
to
it's-
involve
Involvement
them
in a
in
healthy
themselves.
activity, having healthy interest in activity, I think this is something that we're lacking in the
Exactly.
society.
Absolutely.
Somehow the older population, if they're not working, they don't really are not engaging.
They just
in
sit at home and
themselves.
watch TV and dramas.
Exactly.
And Ms. Tyra, do you have anything to add with this?
Yes, I would like to add one thing in it.
Yeah, quickly, yeah.
Whenever we say we are dealing with people who have bad habits, so for example, they are grandparents who have grown older, now we cannot help them change their habits. So it's always the one thing that we need to teach our child is adaptability.
Okay.
He has to adapt to their behavior, because in society he would meet a lot of people and he would not be able to change all of them.
Absolutely.
So he need to be flexible.
Wonderful. And on that note, that's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And we will call you back because this is a very, vast topic. So
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Do log on to our Facebook fan page.
Yeah, before we log on to our Facebook fan
Oh.
page, we actually have to log on to our fruit of the day,
Oh,
which
yes.
is none other than strawberries.
Strawberries.
Oh, whatever, man.
Strawberries.
Come on.
No,
They're
what?
yummy though. Okay, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen, health benefits of strawberries.
No, the strawberries. It depends.
Strawberries regulate blood pressure, promote prenatal health,
They boost your immune system. They promote eye health.
fight bad cholesterol, anti-inflammatory,
And they're also antibacterial and anti-cancer.
antiviral, and anti-aging.
Okay, so with that, that is our fruit of the day. So do log on to our Facebook fan page.
Which is with the name of World This Morning.
But we're still sharing the fruit of the day. And our Twitter page,
World This Morning without a G.
our Daily Motion and YouTube page.
World This Morning, and yeah, World This Morning.
And the repeat is that.
11 p.m.
And in that, I just broke my habit. I broke my pen because I like to click it. But anyway, have a wonderful day and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow.
And start killing all your bad habits. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.